you doing?
Nice that you're here as well.
Yeah, thanks. I thought we had this, like, we divided the tasks, you know. He's from the introduction, I'm from the next part. So I'm just a, you know, structured guy.
Now I have to say one more thing. At the end of this meeting, there's the announcement of the challenge. And maybe that's important for you to know, that you can accept the challenge and you can, but later on we'll tell you all about it. So that's...
And it's the challenge, aka 750 euros. Chance to win a prize money. So
not too bad.
I think that's a good cliffhanger, right?
Yes.
Okay.
For sure.
Dave, we all know you from phone blogs and precious plastic, but you also have another project.
Yes.
It's called Story Hopper, and stories worth sharing.
Sure. I guess just when I look at the world or do research, you come across interesting things you see, or like landfills you see in Africa, or I don't know, just things you experience and try. And I always like to do a little bit more with that than just make a picture and put it in my diary or something. Sometimes I feel these stories are worth sharing. And I like to turn them into projects, but I can handle only so many projects. Like the e-waste thing was quite a big project, and plastic was still is quite a big project. But it also feels like a waste if you can't do anything with it. So I started this story hopper, it's called, where I just make short videos of it. So if I see a problem or something interesting or something I learned, that I can just share it, because I think those things should be shared.
And when did you start it with this project?
When?
When was your first clip or video you made?
I don't know, I think 2 years ago or something. So I already made a few videos here and there, but I figured it would be nice to just have them all in one format. So it's all short videos, every time a completely different topic where you really try something out. It's in a way for myself as well to document these things, I guess.
Is that your main goal, to document things, or is it more about publicity, or do you want to have that people look at it and change their behavior, or what's your main goal?
It could be any of those things. Sometimes, so for instance, I remember when I was in Nepal, in Kathmandu, you had a lot of air pollution there because of all the cars and the diesel. And you just and you think, as a designer, you could work on this as a topic. You just go there for a few months, you try to do something, but I'm just too busy, I have other stuff to do. So then I like to share the problem, so a designer maybe on this side of the world sees it and can work upon that, so he can build on that problem. Because I think otherwise he might have not been aware there was a problem in the first place. And that's also the same if you go to a landfill, for instance. Some people just don't go there. It makes sense, it's not a super nice place. But I think if you show those places, then people are, even though they might not come there, they are aware it has a problem and they could do something about it.
True. And what's your problem with shampoo?
Well, that was just one thing, I don't know, I read somewhere that you could also live without shampoo. And
I can.
Yes. Maybe it was written by a guy like you. Well, in a way, if you look at the ingredients list of shampoo, it has like a lot of ingredients, a lot of weird ones as well, very chemical. And then someone else said you can also just not use it, which kind of makes sense then, because you avoid all these chemical ingredients. So I just stopped using it. I think that's about like 2 years ago now, or 3 years ago. And so it's just sort of a tryout.
And what happened with your hair? I mean, did it work, or
I started wearing a cap?
That's what I was thinking. Yeah.
So you don't use shampoo.
No.
So take off your cap for
Well,
us.
that's more like weird haircut, I guess.
Yeah, that's okay. Yeah, that's
Nice.
No, but so now my hair is pretty long in winter. No, but usually it's okay. In the beginning, your hair gets very greasy because it's used to being washed and making more sort of protection layer on it. But after a while, it's just it's okay, and then you can just live without it.
So can you mention a few of the subjects of the Story Hopper movies?
Yeah. Well, one time I was, for instance, in Thailand, and you had monks living there. And I don't know, it got me thinking that we always spend a lot of time to keep our body healthy, like, I don't know, drinking juices or going to the gym or sporting or all this kind of yoga to sort of keep you physically fit. but your mind, you don't really do anything with it. Whereas it's kind of a powerful thing. So if you think you're sick, I think you can also get sick. It's sort of very powerful, and it can stress you out. It can give you burnouts, but we don't really do anything to keep that one fit. So I was going to some monks in Thailand, and they do meditation, like 13 hours a day, just meditating, fucking boring. But it sort of, I don't know, it gives you a little bit of control over your mind, and it empties it a bit. And I don't know, I think these things are useful to learn or to try out at least.
Do you use it still, or after you visit, it was already over, or?
No. So you also there it's super intense because it's 13 hours a day. You don't do anything else. It's just meditating. You wake up, you go meditating, you go to sleep after. So in daily life, you can't really do that. But you sort of, maybe if you just take like 5% of that, you just do it when you're on the train or something, or before you go to bed, and I think it helps. So you will always use some of it, I would say.
And has it part in your daily life routine, or?
Yeah, I would say so now.
Yeah.
Yeah, you sort of, I also just like to do it a bit more. You see what the upside of it is if you do it.
Is that a purpose of the Story Hopper as well? Is it kind of live research for yourself?
Yeah, I think so. Just like shampoo. I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing. I just want to try it out. And maybe it's a stupid idea, but then at least I know and other people as well. So we kind of know, don't do that. Mm-hmm. So you can learn from each other a lot just by trying stuff out.
Mm-hmm. Is it a way for you to share your philosophy as well? Or is that maybe a thought too deep?
No, I think my philosophy comes from trying out and seeing things. So I start working on a plastic problem because I see a landfill huge in Cambodia, for instance. So I think my philosophy comes from that. So
it's a way to share your philosophy.
Yeah. So I think if other people see that big landfill with plastic, they also think, well, we should clean that up. Yeah. So it sort of all comes together, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
And what if we would introduce you like, and this is Dave Hakkens, the vlogger. Mm-hmm. What would you say? Are you like, yeah, I'm a vlogger? Or are you like, nah, I'm not a vlogger, I'm a YouTuber, or I'm a, I don't know, documentary maker, or what are you in that relation?
I don't really mind how you would call it. I would say a vlogger kind of sounds weird, but maybe it also makes sense. I don't know. But I don't make videos that often because they take quite a long time. And also just, I mean, if you don't use shampoo, I want to make a video, for instance, after 1 year that I really can tell how it is. So you can't do that every week or every day.
No, because the last one was posted, I guess, in October 2017.
Yeah, it could be.
Yeah, that's fake versus real.
Yeah.
Of the real versus fake. Your shoes.
Yes.
Does it take such a long time to make a new one, or is it just have an idea and then make another one?
Well, so it depends. So I would say my main focus is more on problems like plastic, because that's super big and you really have this community behind it and you really build something and you can see all people using it. So Story Hopper is more of a side thing.
Yeah.
But I always have a lot of these things in my mind where I think this could be a video or something, but you really need to make time for that to sort of work on these videos or really try it out or really wear those two different shoes for a long time. But I'm doing that a bit more now, actually, since we released Precious Plastic like in October. So now I have time to do these things.
So 6 weeks in Chile must result in another Story Hopper, I guess.
Probably.
Yeah, I guess.
Let's take a look at an example, because we talked about it. Let's see.
3D printing is the new thing.
3D printing technology.
This would open up a whole new world of prospects and profitability
in this 3D printer. Welcome to the
next industrial revolution.
Yeah, whoa, this 3D printing thing, huh? It is awesome, right? I mean, you can now make and produce stuff locally, or print custom objects like a prosthesis for your legs. Or if something is broken, like, I don't know, the part of your remote control, you can just print a new part and keep using it. I'm a guy that likes to make things, so obviously I got excited by this. It brings so much opportunities. The sky is the limit. Well, actually, the size of the boxes. No, but seriously, this thing, it brings endless possibilities.
Wow.
Okay, so we got a machine. Let's print something. Well, but I don't need an additional leg. They're still pretty good. And my electronics still have all their covers. But I do want to get this machine going. Okay, online. I'll just download a 3D model to get started. And in no time I made a vase, some kind of elephant ring, a plastic wrench, super weak sunglasses, but hey, it's fun to print, a clip that doesn't really clip, some sort of arty object, a Pokemon, a wobbly shaped pen holder, and some other weird stuff. Stuff I don't really need. I don't need it at all. It's useless. Now luckily we got a nice box for that. Ooh, yeah, I also printed an octopus. So I started asking around where other people use their 3D printer for, and most of them have the exact same process. People want to print with their new machine, but they don't need anything, so they print useless crap. Now, I made a 3D model for all your 3D printer enthusiasts out there. The Fab Labs, hobbyists, students and makerspaces. Something you can print that is super useful. It's a reminder to put on your printer, counter or wall. Because we shouldn't waste precious material, but we should all stop printing crap.
Nice, right? Yeah.
So people can respond on you. Oh, that's another story.
That goes to another.
Yeah,
It's a little commercial time.
Okay. So people can respond on your on these story hoppers, and one guy responded with the fact, "You're my favorite hipster." What do you think of that?
Cool, I guess.
Are you the prototype hipster?
I don't know. But yeah, fun.
Another one was, "I love your lifestyle. I love the way you live." Is this what we see here? Is this the way you live?
Like printing stuff?
No, not printing stuff, but the stories you tell with Storyhopper. Do we get a peek in your life when you watch those Storyhoppers or the other videos you put on your channel?
Yeah, I think so, because I have very little budget. It's not that I have a whole team of people available or styling or like photo studios. So everything I just make, it's made sort of in my environment. In my travels, in my life, basically. So I would say, yeah, it's not my entire life, but it's a big part of it, I would say.
So if someone says, you have a fun life, you have to admit.
I guess. Well, some people probably also say something else, like you have a shit life or something. So
yeah,
people just say a lot on YouTube.
It's part of the job, right?
Yeah, yes.
Part of the job. There's also a student who has a question about 3D printing.
Ooh. How do you see 3D printing develop in the future?
Did you?
I think so.
Yeah? I'm gonna repeat it for someone who didn't. How do you think 3D printing will develop in the future?
Yeah, so I think that's one of the reasons why I made that video, that you saw a lot of 3D printing started as something like amazing, that you could do all these things and that you don't need factories in China, but you could produce it locally. But then you also saw more and more commercial companies selling printers and wanting consumers to print like that crap stuff you saw in the video. I think that's something you kind of want to avoid, because that just brings a lot of waste. Like printing Pokemons is not super useful. But I think people get more aware of that. So I think it will be nice how it will evolve, that you really have like these more local places to manufacture things. And also made like from recycled plastic, for instance, instead of new plastic. But yeah, I think you should always be aware that it's not, that it doesn't become this commercial consumer thing, which is kind of useless actually, because it has a lot of nice
But I
benefits.
guess it will be. It won't take such a long time that we all have a 3D printer in our homes, I guess, or?
Yeah, but I don't think that's necessarily a good thing. Well, or maybe you need to control yourself. Like, don't just print everything because you think you need it. Yeah. Sometimes you also, I know, you want certain quality. Or maybe like there's one deep printer in a street or something like that. Because otherwise it's just not used most of the time you have it.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
And when you look at other materials, maybe like 3D printing organs or something, do you
Or
think
food
there's a
even,
possibility
yeah.
for that?
Yeah, so yeah, no, definitely. I think it gets more and more advanced. So printing metals, printing ceramics, printing flesh, indeed. But I guess the main question we as humans always have is not necessarily can we make it, but do we want to make it or do we need to make it?
Yeah.
And that's, I guess, a more difficult question because that's not something you can engineer or you can make or you can put the smartest people on. That's more like wisdom of humans, I guess, we need to solve as well.
Yeah, it's not a good thing as if it's going to be some kind of gadget.
Yeah,
the next gadget,
I would say.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Next question.
How do you see the future in relation to recycling plastic?
Yeah, I repeat.
Yeah.
How do you see the future in relation to recycled plastic? Because you're the plastic recycle guy.
Yes, it's my thing.
You're the guru now.
Well, there's this thing I hope it's gonna be, and where I might think it's gonna. No, let's go for the hope one. So I would say the cool thing about plastic is that you can just recycle it. That's kind of amazing that you can just melt it again into something new. And we already have a lot of plastic around us, like a lot. So we could just use that for like hundreds of years and not producing anything new.
Mm-hmm.
But I would say, so I think that the first thing we need to do now is just keep on recycling what we already made. And after that, when that's really done and worn out, start thinking about maybe we still need plastic, but then it would be bioplastics.
Mm-hmm.
So that biodegrade in nature and are not made from oil, but more from corn or starch or whatever. But I think it's almost a waste if we do that already, because then we're still stuck with all this plastic that's already here. So I would say, yeah, we'll get more into recycling and later on more in developing other types of plastic.
Have you ever been in touch with a guy who want to get rid of the plastic soup in the oceans? Because which name is Zloitan
Boyan.
Boyan? Yeah. Have you guys ever been in touch? Because it seems like you have similar minds.
Yeah, so we've been so we often related like two Dutch guys doing stuff with plastic. So I've been also at this. It's not really a work office. Yes,
Yeah.
not really a workspace. But I think they're more focused on really getting the material, and we're more focused on what to do with the material.
Yeah.
But that would be a nice, fun mix. And once they have the plastic, that we sort of do something with it. Yeah.
Yeah. The next step is to recycle it, I guess.
Yeah, for sure.
So that's for the future then. 2018 will be a good year.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Well, the next question is related to this subject as well.
How long will your project of recycling plastic take to reduce plastic waste among our society?
I repeat, how long will your project of recycling plastic take to reduce plastic waste in our society? I guess it's a difficult question to answer.
Yeah. Well, so I always, I think sometimes I'm a bit childish, but every time when I make something, I think now it's finished, now it's done. So when the first time we made pressure plastic, which is now called version 1, I thought I'll share everything online and that's it, plastic problem is solved. Then you realize, not really, so you make another version and then another one. So I don't know, every time when we're ready, I think now it should be good. But more realistically, it's probably going to take a bit long.
Yeah.
But I don't know. But you definitely see it getting quicker and quicker because more and more people understand the problem, more and more people helping out or trying to do something about it.
So the awareness is growing.
Yeah, and that helps a lot if you want to sort of work all together to tackle those problems. Then it goes much quicker. So, and it's also the motivational thing about it, that you can really see those things could be solved quickly if everyone sort of wants it.
And it's also like a domino effect, right? So you start a movement and it carries out itself. Yes?
Yeah.
What is your ideal and what is your realistic point of view on the future? And do you even have any?
Especially the last part.
Let's start with the first.
Whew, that's a tough question.
Tough is good, right?
Yeah. No, so I think, but maybe that's more throughout the years. I really noticed that we humans are very good in making things and engineering things and solving these complex puzzles and, I don't know, making something new and something incredible. But I don't know, maybe it's because you're sitting with the monks, but those guys have like nothing and they're still happy. That you think, do we need all this stuff, or do we just do it to keep ourselves busy? So I think that will be an interesting one when we start thinking more about, before we even start making it and go into all the complexity, whether we need it or could we do it simpler or not at all. I don't know. I think that might be a good thing in the future to work on as mankind.
Mm-hmm. And you think it's realistic as well?
Well, so you hear it more and more around it, that people are, I don't know, they don't like the capitalistic system, they see all the consumerism, they don't like it, it's polluting the world. And on the one hand, you could solve that with like a new gadget or a new technology, but maybe that's not the answer. Maybe the answer is more like in people, like
behavior.
Yeah, in the behavior of people, instead of a thing, because in the end, it's all those things that cause the problems in the first place. So, yeah.
Okay. And the final question within the future or trends is the following.
What are your plans for the future?
It's short and powerful.
It's short and powerful. What are your plans for the future?
Go to Chile.
Go to Chile, yeah, of course.
No, so one thing I actually want to start soonish is this kind of a new project, basically.
A new project?
Yes.
Okay.
No, so now I often try to solve these problems, like work on plastic or on e-waste. But just living in this system, you leave like a big footprint just because you drive to work every day, or you buy packaging in a supermarket, or you eat bananas that come all the way from Ecuador. And I think what I would like to do is figure out another way how to live. So not necessarily... No, so the plan is more that maybe you buy a piece of land, you have a workspace there where you can work on projects, but maybe you share like a community with other people as well. So you eat more locally, you have your own vegetable garden. So sort of a way how you could live life while still using like the internet and technologies and knowledge from there. But then really try it yourself, like how do you solar your own life, or use the wind energy, or I don't know, get a vegetable garden but use drones to maintain it.
Except from the technology, it's a bit like we used to live in the past, which you describe now.
So I think that's on the one hand, the past had very interesting and nice things, but so does this world, what we have now. And I think it's nice when you combine those two together. What would be sort of the next world look like, or how else could we live? Mm-hmm. And I think that would be one big experiment. I don't know if it's going to be good or bad, but it seems fun to try it out.
Yeah. So when you're going to do that? Is 2018 a year, maybe?
Well, I want to start it off this year, but that's kind of a big plan.
Yeah.
So I'll just always go step by step. Yeah. But the starting point would be this year.
And would you be like an example project for people as well then? To show them how you can live this way.
Yeah, and then maybe show, on the one hand, you share all the things that went wrong, but you also share all the things that went right, so people can learn a lot from that. And I think that's the cool thing about internet, that once one human on the planet learns it and he shares it, suddenly we all know it.
Yeah, the advantages of the internet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think in that area there's still a lot to learn and figure out.
Yeah. Okay.
It's an interesting way of looking at the future. Are there any students here who have questions for Dave in regard to the future or to trends, or the way he implements trends in his work? There has to be some question, right? I can translate it. Oh, yeah, sorry.
Well, thinking about the monks. Okay. What are your thoughts on minimalism?
Makes sense. Yeah, no, so I... on the one hand, I have that, like, my personal life is very minimalistic, I would say. I have very little things. But then my workspace is like chaos. It has so many tools and materials, and which I also kind of like, because then you can make a lot of things. But no, I would definitely say it makes your life easier if you have less things to worry about, less things that can break. It's nice.
Is that your idea on minimalism as well, which he pointed out now?
Well, I think it's an interesting topic that it's difficult to achieve, to be very minimalistic, but I think it would be nice.
Yeah, so less stuff in your life. Yeah,
I guess.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
What trends did you need to adjust your projects for, and how did you do that?
So, which trends I need to adjust budget?
When you did your project, what are some global trends that you had to take into account and to change your project somehow, make some adjustments in order for them to be more successful?
No, so I think, like I said, what we saw with plastic is that you see more and more people getting aware of it. So it sort of becomes more of a trend, I guess. And that helps to work on these projects. But I would say at least I don't think I specifically choose projects for that reason. But I think I do also live in this world, and I have the same sort of sources around me. So I'm also just a guy that hears a lot about the plastic problem, so I just start working on it. But meanwhile, other people hear about the projects or the problems as well. So I think all these global problems are now becoming sort of trends, which kind of helps, I guess, to get them fixed or worked on. Does that make sense?
You got your answer? Yeah? Okay, great. Other questions? New? Okay.
No? So then we go to the next subject, which is concepting.
And let's just start with a question again, right?
Sure.
It's a stop motion video, I guess. But her question was, how does your creative process work, and do you have any special brainstorming methods that you would like to recommend? So it's two questions. So how does your creative process work, and do you have any special brainstorming techniques?
I think personally I'm very bad in just saying I have 2 hours and now I need to come up with something. Usually it's more happens throughout my day, or maybe at breakfast, or maybe in the evening, maybe not at all. So I don't really have a very specific process. It's just more it comes when it comes. Yeah, I do. I think but I think you can sort of feed yourself. So if an idea doesn't come, for instance, what I do is I just like to go out there to just research. To, I don't know, let's say you want to do something with, plastic. No, let's take something else.
For example.
Food. And you think, oh, food is not correct. You can sit in your room and you start thinking about what can I do about it. But I would say go out to the places where the food is being made. Go out to places where food ends up. Go out to eat yourself. So I think just doing a lot of things, it makes the creative process much easier, because you have a lot of new input and a lot of things that sort of pop your mind. So that is sort of for me a way.
And do you also have like sparring partners or something that you can check your ideas, or is it kind of a solo session for you?
No, I think mainly just everyone that sort of is in my life at that time. I do always have my mom as a reflection point, because she's sort of she's just very Dutch, like society, just very average, I guess, in a good way. But because sometimes my mind gets very complex and off, and then my mom is always a good way to see if it still makes sense, or people even get it, the thing you're trying to communicate.
Yeah, because you're trying to reach like a broad audience, right? So
yeah,
she represents like this average.
Yeah, she's just a good way. Like if she gets it, should be good. So,
yeah. That's good, right? Maybe the next one is also I think it's just that's just says we have, but we still have the people who ask them. So that's good. How do you come up with new innovative ways for your ideas? It's a bit the same question, right? But is the process like mainly the same, or is it every time it's a different process and with a different starting point?
No, so I think for me, really just going out there, that's for me the best way to come up with new ideas. And then I guess after that you always have the part like you also easily have a booklet with 40 ideas on there, but you need one idea in the end. So that's always the tough one, I guess. How do you boil down all these ideas to one good idea, or one idea where you really think this is it? Yeah.
And were you trained at the Design Academy for this process, or did you like develop it yourself?
No, so I think now for me it feels now natural to work like that, but I actually think I might learn that at Design Academy, just a very process way of working. So you just sort of learn a lot, or you try out a lot, and then you boil down those ideas, and then you try out a few, or you prototype it. So I think it might actually be a very much a designed way of working.
Yeah, I think the students here could recognize some words for this process. So that's good to know. Do you have any questions?
No.
Okay. Next still. Yep, sorry man. This is also, it's a long question. How do you balance your creativity and your work structure in a way that doesn't disturb the creative process and put structure in your work? Yeah, I can imagine he needed to write it down for himself as well. So how do you balance your creativity and your work structure in a way that doesn't disturb the creative process? So you need like structure and you need creativity, but how can you combine those two elements?
So I think personally my mind is kind of chaotic always. So like I said, I have an idea, but I don't plan it like I have now 1 hour to get it. It sort of pops my mind or it doesn't. So I would say my life itself is because of that quite organized. So I keep everything very structured, very clean, so it's not messy. So otherwise,
explain a little more. What does it mean?
Well, so all the, like in my workspace, all the tools are with the tools, the pencils with the pencils, the sandpaper with the sandpaper. On my computer, all the files are like properly organized. My desk is pretty neat, I would say. Just because of that, because I know my mind is kind of chaotic. So if my world outside is also chaotic, it just makes me messy. So I like to have those things organized.
So you need that to put your mind in order, in fact.
Yeah, I think that I sort of need that. Because if I work and everything is messy, and also my desk and my workspace, then I don't know, it just doesn't work for me.
And who can relate to that here? Who also has a clean desk? Or are you all a bunch of...
And a messy mind.
Clean desk, messy mind. I see a slogan here, sticker.
Here. Yeah?
Bumper sticker. Clean desk, messy mind.
Messy mind.
Okay. Well, it makes sense. Makes sense. Another question.
Yeah. What?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Perfect.
What makes you come out of bed every morning? And what inspires you and keeps you motivated? It's a good question.
I am very bad in coming out of my bed, to be fair. I'm more of a...
So at what time your day starts then?
Well, it depends if so I prefer to work like midnight. No one disturbs me, then it's like I can just go on. But I also don't want to fuck up my natural sort of schedule too much. So I always try to force myself to don't work until too late or stay up until too late and get out of bed early. But it was also the busier I get, the more focused it is. So then I think less about getting up. You just get up and you just make it. You go to bed, you sort of get it done. So it depends a bit. If it's very busy, then I'm much more structured and get out of bed easy. But I would say usually, I don't know, I get up then like 8 or something.
Mm-hmm.
And what makes you get out of bed? Like, is it like, okay, I'm going to change the world today. Let's get out of bed. Because that's the picture we have of you. Like Dave is always like, bam, I'm going to change the world. Or is it something like, it's cold, I don't want to change the world today?
No, I think it's like way smaller. You don't get excited that much about changing the world, but more about, I have this idea to make a machine that can press a plate from plastic. Just like
awesome.
it's just awesome. I just want to try it out. Doesn't work, try again tomorrow. So it's much more zoomed in and small specific things, I would say.
So it's not like the bigger picture that gets you out of bed.
No, because if I
day.
think about, I'm going to save the world today or something, no, then I don't get up. Then it's too big, or it's like overwhelming almost.
Okay. And the final question in this blog is: do you have another project that you are working on right now? Is there like you told a little bit about it, but do you have like an inside scoop? Like something RTL Boulevard would like to know, or another program?
No, so I think, the main, so like I said, the main thing I work on now is making a few of these story LP videos, things that I just had in my mind, but I didn't have time to execute it, so now I have the time to do that. And then the next thing would be that piece of land to live and to really figure out how you would live your life in the coming 50 years. But that's also a big project. That's not something like takes a year. It's probably going to take the rest of my life. So I'm also not very rushed with it to start it because it's so big. But I would say I would definitely start that this year. So
yeah. And do you also have people who want to live in your community, or is it just a vision and an idea in your head?
So I think that's like the question there, like do you hop on trends? I think stuff like that, more and more people have it just when I talk with people around it, that they would kind of like to live somewhere more off-grid or closer to nature and to forest and more fresh air and not in the smoke of the city, a little bit more quiet. So I think you sort of feel it's in the air and more people would like that. But as you try it out, especially if you're one of the first to try that out, it's not super comfortable. You have a lot of problems, a lot of things go wrong. So I think a lot of people would like to do it, but it's another thing to actually do it.
Yeah, behavior is difficult to...
Yeah. So we'll see. I don't know, we'll just start and see who is interested.
Okay, cool. Are people here interested to join Dave's community and doing the farm style and producing your own vegetables and your own energy?
4, 5.
Yeah, well,
that's something,
it's
right?
a start, right? Yeah. It's a start.
Going to be some kind of village, I guess.
Yeah.
Are there any more questions from you on this subject of concepting? No? Sure, there must be 1, 2, 3. Special effect. No? Okay.
The next topic is entrepreneurship. Ooh. So, here's the first question.
Okay. What's the most important thing you've learned in this working environment? No? Oh, sorry. I took the wrong one. How can you make a living if you don't ask money for your ideas? She didn't ask that firm, but I do.
So I haven't really got a very good answer on that. But I think the main thing I like to do is do the thing you want to do and don't worry too much about how to get there, but just go there. And throughout the years, I kind of noticed, for me at least, it works out. So, for instance, it has, even though you share everything online for free, you also have other side effects or jobs with it that I didn't even know to exist, like giving presentations at a school. I didn't know that was a thing. Or helping company out with consultancy or asking or giving them feedback or something like that. All those things I didn't know they would generate income, but you can live from that as well. And on the one hand, we also have people donating money or like supporting every month on Patreon. So where people just give money because they think, I like what this guy is doing, so I want to make sure he can do that. He doesn't want anything in return. And I kind of like to try out these other ways of getting income, just instead of selling something, to see what else would be an option. Again, I think it's just a tryout. I don't know if it's going to be good or bad, but I just want to see if there's an alternative to do that.
So the last few years you managed to make a living out of presentations, consultancy, that kind of
donations
stuff,
and stuff, yeah.
And donations, yeah. Are you crowdfunding as well then, or?
No, main reason because of that is that you often need to give something in return. You need to have like a product or a thing, and I don't want to just give T-shirts to people.
You can offer them your mind, I guess, or?
Well, the crowdfund is often more like a thing based. It's not really, So I prefer to, I don't know, it seems like a distraction as well. Then I need to, I don't know, give a call to China to get T-shirts shipped to, I don't know. So I prefer to just do the thing I think is most important, and then hopefully people support you in doing that, or hook on to that.
But you're never having worries about...
Well, so I think what she said, like minimalism, on the one hand it's nice because you have less stuff and less worries, but it also just saves you money. You don't have to get all this stuff. So I think my lifestyle is also quite minimalistic in that sense.
Yeah, so there's no problem with your solvability.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you can pay your
Yes.
Yeah, your workspace, because I guess you have to rent your workspace. It's not your own.
Yeah, but same with that. When I started working, I originally I'm from Eindhoven, where Design Academy is, so a lot of students work in Eindhoven. But I realized I want a big space and I don't want to pay too much. So Eindhoven wasn't really an option, so I looked one city next to it, which was Helmond. There's not much to do. But when I got in touch there with the municipality, they said, well, we have a lot of empty spaces and you can get them pretty cheap. So if you just look at things different sometimes, it's and easier and cheaper, and we have a bigger space than we would have ever in Eindhoven. So yeah, that was a good deal, and I don't have to pay high rent.
So yeah. Another question. Oh.
Dear question.
What elements of developing your ideas into a life change company made it become so well known? That is the first part of the question. The second part is, was it the people you met or your own branding?
I don't know, because.
But when you think of it.
So I think the upside of what I do is that kind of the things I do touch these trends or these popular topics right now.
Yeah.
Like we notice it that a lot of people, for instance, talk about plastic waste and they want to do something about it, and they know everything that's wrong about it, but there's not that many solutions out there. So if you just have a solution or a potential solution, a lot of people are looking for it, so you easily are found as well, because it's just such a huge topic and very little people doing something about it. And I think that helps, that the topics are kind of popular.
Yeah.
But also I would say sometimes it also takes long. I think like in the beginning no one really cared about plastic that much, but you see throughout the years more and more people do it. I could also see that happening with this piece of land where I would like to live. Then in the beginning it might look weird, people don't think about it, but maybe in 10 years it's becoming more and more logical for other people. Or like my mom might think, that would be fun, a piece of land, because now she thinks, why would you do that? So I think the sort of the timing and stuff helps.
But branding, is it something you keep in mind, or is it something you work on? Or
I think so. Like I said, I don't really have a lot of budget, so also not people to brand me or copywriters to write your text or graphic designers to make it. So everything I do, I kind of do myself. So I just have this tablet and I just sketch it out. Kind of looks like shitty, but it fits. And the only thing I do try to keep in mind, I think, is being consistent. So trying to sort of stick to it, even though at some point you might not like it yourself that much anymore, but try to just so people recognize it.
So the ideas must suit you as well, I guess.
Yeah.
It must be your ideas. Yeah. The next question is related to this. How did you build your network?
What's a network?
Good question. Is the oh wait,
okay,
where is it?
Oh, go back.
Oh, her face is gone.
Yeah, no. Oh, it's it.
Is she here or isn't she? The girl who asked the question. No, okay, because maybe she knows what a network is. Can someone help Dave? What's a network?
You guys know what a network is. You're all always networking.
Oh, no, what network is? What's a network? Who has an idea?
What? Sorry?
So the connection to other people who maybe want to do something for you.
So what you do on LinkedIn, for instance. So your business network.
No, I think it doesn't really work like that. I see them more as friends, I guess. And I share the projects I do online, and people that like to help out, you sort of get in touch with them. But it comes very natural because you both want to have the same outcome. So yeah, I don't know. I don't know.
You're not really aware of building a network or really maintaining a network. It just organically happens with friends and people who have the similar interest.
Yeah, I think so. And then once you have a similar interest, I think it also can go very quickly, because then you're super excited, everybody, and then you just go for something. So you don't really think, I need this person to achieve that goal. It's more like, I want to do this, whoever is in, come and we'll do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
For you, it's not important. Networking is not important.
No, I also don't like it. Like if you have these networking parties or something, I go home.
You never go there.
No.
Okay. What's your favorite? What next?
Yeah, the whole thing is breaking
Is
apart. It's just, I don't know what's happening. It's really
good that we have the questions on paper.
Yeah.
Good old paper.
Good old paper.
Yeah. What's your favorite part of the job?
I think I like the beginning, when you sort of have a problem and you just gather ideas, you go out, you research, you try, and then you have a whole long period of just doing it, making it, trying it, which is also nice, but sometimes it's just long, because it's just a lot of work. You just need to do it. And then the end is fun again when you share it, if people actually get it, or does it make sense, or the feedback you get. So I would say all stages I like, but the one in the middle where you actually need to do it, sometimes it's just long. But then it's just pushing through.
What's the most boring part?
Email.
Yeah. Networking.
Yeah, answering emails.
You're not a networker at all. The last question about the subject: why don't your project can grow any faster? Because, for example, phone blocks is invented a couple of years ago, and it took some time to get it out. I guess maybe the plastic project is a better example. It took some time to get it well known, or can it be faster? Can you work faster? Or
yeah, I think so. I think if you would have more money, you could hire a bigger team, and you could have the ideas you have in your head executed quicker.
Yeah.
So I think you might have a quicker result then. However, sometimes I think it might also be too quick, so you don't that you might look back and think, well, what the fuck did I create? Like that it's almost goes too quickly. But maybe from a if you want to have the quickest result, that might be a way to get there.
We're talking about phone blocks, which was adopted by Google. They have a super big team, and they didn't manage to get it ahead.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Sometimes things also like I said, like timing is also important. Like maybe technology is not as far yet, or maybe the global awareness is not as big yet. So people, the idea might be good, but if people don't get it or they don't see the need of it, it's also useless. So I think sort of everything needs to be good.
Yeah, the time must be right.
Yeah,
so all
those things.
Elements should stick together. Yeah. Okay.
Okay, let's see what happens.
Oh.
Good fixer.
You're not a technician. You're supposed to be.
I'm not a technician, that's for sure. That's for sure. But we now know again who the question is from. So what is the most important thing you've learned in this working environment?
Which working environment?
Your environment.
In your,
yeah.
I mean, you graduated from Design Academy, you started your own thing. What's the major thing you think, like, I've learned this, like, whoop. Yeah.
Well, so at some point we had to make sort of a slogan for yourself or something that keeps you motivated. So I wrote down in Dutch, gewoon doen, Dave. I was pretty excited by that. I thought, yeah, it makes sense. Then I translated it into English, which means just do it, like Nike. But that thing just helps me still a lot. It sort of makes sense. You just do it, you try it. Don't think about it too much, or think while you do it, but at least do it.
Yeah, just do it.
And you also talked about things like when you first started with precious plastic, you just dropped it and thought, well, this is it, I'm done. Problem is gone. But then you also realized, well, it takes a lot of time. Is there also a big learning point that you use now with new projects to get them going in another way?
No, I think I still sort of have the same method, and maybe I also wanna keep that as well, because if you think about all the things or all the effort it's if I told myself 5 years ago, you're going to work on plastic for 10 years, I would have not even started. I would be like, God damn, man, I want to do something else. So it almost demotivates you sometimes to see how big something actually is. So sometimes it might be good to not see everything, but you just do the thing you like to do, and then you build and you build and you build.
It's the same, like you said, well, getting out of bed, just getting excited of a small thing that keeps you going. Okay, thanks. The next question is, how do you keep your workspace inspirational? You talked about how you kept it structured, but is there also a way you get it inspirational? Because, for example, students sometimes complain about the classroom, they're like dull and not inspirational. Is that a factor for you?
No, because I think usually when I need ideas or something, I often just go out. Just like I said, you just do, you research, you move out. But I have to say, like with Precious Plastic, we worked on a new version and we asked people to just help out. So people from all over the world came into the workspace, and that was nice. Then suddenly I didn't have to go out, but everyone was in because they all had different backgrounds, but different interests, different points of views. So I think people helps as well to just talk and with them and see their perspective.
So also the co-creation process is important with people from different backgrounds.
Yeah, I think that for me that helps a lot. Different cultures, different backgrounds.
And what kind of backgrounds are you talking about? Do you have an example maybe?
Well, so for instance, we had one guy, he was from Mexico helping out, and he just has a very different way of working, or the way just how he builds stuff, how he thinks of stuff. It's just different than people from Europe. So for instance, we think a lot in, let's say if we have an idea or something, it needs to be, if you make it, it needs to be sort of made quickly, because labor is expensive, for instance. So you kind of want to, you just go to the construction store and just get a piece of metal, even if it's too big, and you just cut it down. But he has a very different approach. He thinks more about, I can easily spend 2 weeks on this, but I don't want to, materials much more difficult to get. So it sort of gives a different way of working, something I'm not used to in Netherlands. Yeah.
It's also different cultures and different perspectives.
Yeah, yeah.
Actually,
Just their background is just completely different.
Yeah, and that helps to create more innovative concepts, products, services.
Yeah, I think it stretches your mind a little bit, that you don't think too narrow, like everything has to be like this, but you see the world is way beyond, like Netherlands or Europe, it's way bigger and different. So even though maybe your idea doesn't make sense here, it could easily apply somewhere else.
So the international aspect of lifestyle is really important.
Yeah.
What's the point where you meet each other? Because their approach may be different. I guess there are some similarities as well, because you end up in this space.
So I think, for instance, the nice thing there was that we all had the same goal. We want to get rid of the plastic. So we all had that as a very solid backbone, why we wanted to do things. But you definitely saw everyone's approach was just different, and the way how they look at it. And so, yeah.
We like to think about the world as a place with a lot of different influences. Someone from Russia is completely different from someone from the Netherlands. Is that true in your opinion? Because you've met people from all those countries.
No, so I think if you look at the world that they live in, is completely different. So the materials they have, the technologies they use is like different. But from within, if you sort of talk to it as a human, they're pretty similar. They also just have a mom and dad. They want to do something nice. They care about having a friend. They, I don't know, want to do something fun in the weekend. Mm-hmm. And that's also kind of nice, actually, that you see you're pretty similar as a human.
Yeah.
Okay.
What motivated you to come up with this recycling project?
So
that's a good smile. That's a good smile. Yeah. A nice shot as well.
And surprising that there came some. Okay, so I have to repeat, I guess, or not? Or did you?
No, I think I heard it.
Oh yeah. It was loud and clear. So.
Yeah, why I came up with the plastic project, right?
Yeah.
I think mainly just seeing a lot of plastic waste and thinking should do something about it. That sort of.
And where was the point? Because it's a big problem, and you thought about it, and like you mentioned before, there's a shift in society. You see people getting more involved. You see the problem growing at the same time, but you have to think about what was the moment that you really thought, okay, now I'm gonna actually start? Not just think about it, but just because you knew up front it was a big thing.
Well, so the upside was it started as my graduation project at Design Academy. So you knew I got 6 months to come up with something. So it's kind of a deadline, which also helps for me as well. If you have a sort of a deadline to don't think about it too long, but start doing it as well. So I think there, and then you just think, okay, I got 6 months. What is realistic to do? What can I do and really finish? So that's how it sort of came about.
Okay, was that a good answer? Okay.
How do you inspire people to start recycling?
Yeah. Repeat?
How do you inspire people?
Yeah, people to start recycling. So how do you inspire them or me or?
So you build like the machines, but they also need to use the machines. Is there also a part of which you take as or which you see as your part?
Yeah, so I think I remember myself, I got excited doing something with plastic when I just saw it's even possible. Like before I didn't even think it was an option that you could recycle it. So I watched some YouTube videos and I see some guys doing it, and that sort of gets me excited to try it out. And I think we keep that philosophy. We still just want to show how it works, but a little bit more professional than those guys on YouTube in their house often. And I think that sort of just gets people excited because they all have that thing. They want to do something, they see the problem, and so once they see a tool that can do it, I think that's already excites them. So
in fact, you invite everyone to be part of your community, I guess.
Yeah, so the more people recycling plastic, the better.
Yeah, but not only with the plastic project, but with your
yeah.
story hopper as well.
Yeah.
You invite people to make their own story hopper movies. Yeah.
Yeah, so I think you can learn a lot from each other. And I think it's nice when people, if they try out things, that they share it. And not just stupid pictures on Facebook that are kind of fun, but more like things you could really learn from, or knowledge you've gathered, which took maybe 2 years before you understood it. If you shared it with someone, it saves that other person like 2 years' work. And I think that's a powerful thing we can do. Mm-hmm. And what I also like about the internet, so yeah, we try to build that place online where people can really find each other and talk about these things or connect with each other.
I guess one or two has built your plastic recycle machine already. No. 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 A bummer. A bummer.
We'll get there.
The next.
How did you understand that the idea you are carrying out was going to be successful?
So how can you understand that the idea you were carrying out was going to be successful? So when did you know, like, okay, this is gonna be something. This could be big.
Well, I think maybe that's stupid, but with every idea you have in mind, you think it's a good idea, right? Otherwise, you're not even gonna do it. Not that every idea I have is good, because I also done things that are just stupid looking back.
For example?
Well, it's just smaller stuff, I would say. But sometimes you just, I don't know, you do something.
Yeah, for example.
No, we don't want to hear like bad ideas or something. But it's a realistic point of view. Like it's not that you wake up, you have this idea, bam, it's a success. It's a process,
yeah.
right? So things don't make it. Some ideas you don't even try because you think, well, it's not going to work. Why did precious plastic was an idea and you already felt like this is going to work?
Well, I think because for me it just made sense, and that's why you work on it. But that said, you could say that after version 1, it kind of failed because two person built the machines. The goal was to have a lot of people building these machines. So then you could say it was a stupid idea, it didn't work. But I always like to try to think then, the idea is still good, but the execution was not good or perfect. So maybe we build another version to see if it works better now. And then you see that the more time and effort you put in your idea, the better people understand it, and the more it grows. And you also change a little bit, I would say, the direction.
Yeah, so at one time you took a wrong turn, but then you realize that if your approach is different, you can make it work.
Yeah. So I also think it's not necessarily that you take the wrong turn, but maybe you just take a step in a direction which later you realize it should be that way and then that way, and then you sort of.
And you should take one step back and to go two steps forward.
Yeah.
So it's about testing, right?
Yeah, and I think it's almost always like that. That people like to think you have this golden idea which you wake up with and that's it. And maybe it is, but probably it's not going to look like that the first time you tell it to someone. It just takes time before, I don't know, you can really share it with others and people understand it and it makes sense.
And it's also about the timing, like you said. Sometimes you're too soon and it picks up later on because your graduation project was a couple of years ago. So and now it's starting to kick off. Was it the same with phone blocks or was that like an immediate hit?
Yeah, no, so that was a little bit more like a viral hit, like internet. But I think personally that's why I always thought as well, like, it's nice that a lot of people see it, but it's still an idea until someone makes it, then it becomes something. So I was never really that impressed myself by all these numbers or statistics or whatever, because I think the difficult process is just about to start, to really have people making it, making a mistake, go back again, try this. So the long path still needed to be taken.
Yeah.
But I do say a lot of people feel that having the idea is the most valuable thing, that's sort of your $1 million ticket, but I don't really believe in that. I believe more in the road to build it.
So people can be enthusiastic, but that doesn't mean anything.
No, I don't think so.
No.
It's the one that builds it that has the most time, effort, and dedication to it.
Yeah, and phone blocks at the end.
Yeah,
it failed. I guess.
It didn't really fail.
No, the idea didn't really fail, but
well, so no one took that road, I guess, to really execute it or all the way.
You also have to look at the spin-off, right? Because modular thinking is now bigger than it was before phone blocks.
Yeah.
So I do think, and Google did start. I mean, maybe it was too soon, like Google Glass or something.
Yeah.
But it's a stepping stone, I think, for innovations. Maybe it was too soon, but it will get back in another form, I guess.
Yeah, so that's what I like to think as well. That's why I don't really think stuff fails. You just always needed to do that thing to go to the next thing. So stuff never really fails.
Mm-hmm.
Are there any questions maybe for Dave? And it doesn't have to relate to trends. You could also ask him about his pets or his love life or his, I don't know.
Don't know if you're going to answer.
If you want to know anything.
I'm easy.
Are there any questions?
Yeah? Yeah. Oh, I go there. Oh, I go here. You go there.
Too close. Do you see yourself more like an innovator or more like you look up at trend websites to see what other people are making in order to get inspired?
You mean from a name or how you...
No, like for the project you do, like you're more an innovator and you do your things because of what you see, or you look up at website and try to see what other people are making in order to see if something already exists, or I don't know.
So I think when I was studying and you sort of had a project and you needed to come up with an idea, that was often my approach. Sort of look on the internet what's there and then you sort of work from that. But I felt that sort of narrows down your field because the other students are going to do the same thing and probably all the other people as well. So I think if you go out, you still look at other things, but you don't look at the exact same things everyone else is looking. So I think you still pay attention to what's around you. Yeah.
But you don't go on the internet just to look up at what other people are doing.
No, I used to do that more. Also because sometimes you have an idea and then you think, well, someone else did it, so what, I can't do it anymore. Which again doesn't mean anything, because if that idea is just an idea and no one really executed it, it still doesn't exist. So I felt it was more demotivating than uplifting to do it. Yeah. Okay. So.
And like you said, you also like to go out, right? So not only behind the computer, but also just experience things, talk to people who are actually in the field, who are actually using products and stuff like that. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So I was wondering, how do you feel about deadlines? Do they motivate you, or demotivate you? Like,
well, no, they definitely motivate me, I would say, but I'm not sure if I like them because, I don't know, if you have a deadline, you also sort of get very focused, which in a way is effective for your work, but you also forget a little bit about your family, about your friends, about your eating properly and stuff like that, sleeping enough. So I don't know, but in a way I like them because you get results out of it, but I also not really like them. So I don't know.
It's a love-hate relationship.
Yes, I think so, yeah.
Like we all have, I guess.
I love that.
Yeah.
So you stopped using shampoo. Are there any more ways in your daily life that you are sustainable, what you do?
Well, so, obviously, like not using plastic and stuff. Living minimalistic, so you buy less stuff, that's one of those things. I don't know. I would say so. At least I try to do that as much as you can. So, for instance, when I noticed sometimes it's out of my hand, like going to the stores and they sell it or they transport it far away and you can't do anything about it. That's why I want to try this living on your own kind of thing, because I think then you are more in control of your own life. So I would say I always try to do that as much as I can.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
What a shame.
Okay, then these were all the questions for you, Dave. So now it's
it.
time to get to the next part, and maybe a little drum roll is in place. Yes. And maybe a little hint, it's the fast fashion challenge. Yeah.
Ooh. So, in fact, you're going to challenge our students to come up with something which has to do with fast fashion. Can you explain a little?
Yeah. Okay. So this topic has been bugging me for years, but I never really had the full time to work on it. But throughout the years, I've seen quite some documentaries and videos about fashion and what it does, like stuff like this, like it generates a lot of waste. I was also in Cambodia like a year ago on a landfill there, and usually landfills are full of plastic, but there you actually had a lot of textile waste because a lot of clothes come from Cambodia or Vietnam. So that area, you just see like it has a huge footprint. And just like with foam blocks or with plastic, this is another one of those things, like this huge global issue that people need to start working on. I actually heard recently that it was the second most polluting industry. So you had the oil and the gas, and then fashion. I didn't know it was that huge. And I think just too little people work on this, and because the problem is so big. So yeah, we need people to work on that.
So that's the challenge. The challenge is to think of a solution. What can we do with all those? Now, yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
How can we reduce the amount of textile waste? So that's the challenge you...
Yeah. Because, and I think it goes with different... it's super difficult with these global problems to think about... There are like 20 solutions that could work. It's not like one golden idea that's going to solve it all. It's all those 20 solutions together that are going to do it. So on the one hand, it might be we throw away our clothing too quickly because something new is coming. But it could also be that the clothing quality is just too low and it doesn't last long. It could also be that if we use it, we can recycle it properly, so we need to burn it. Whereas if we could recycle it, we could use it again. So there are like many aspects to this problem you could work on or think about to reduce the amount of textile waste.
So it's a challenging question, but I think also a necessary one, because like you said, it's the second biggest polluter in the world at the moment. I think there's also, with the sector appearance, so the students also have some knowledge about this sector already. So there are like 4 steps you have to take if you want to join this challenge. So you obviously have to look at the current fashion industry, because it's a big polluter, but how does it work? How does the chain within this industry looks like? So you have to think about a concept that will reduce the amount of textile waste, and like Dave said, there are a lot of different possibilities, because reducing the amount could be like that will be produced less clothes, but you can also use them longer, or no, well, there are a lot of different options. So feel free to come up with your own idea. So if it reduces the amount of textile waste, it's a good idea. So don't think about boundaries on that part. Obviously, make a visually appealing presentation, because you are going to present it at Dave, and Dave is the main jury, so he is going to decide who is the winner. So obviously you have to persuade him, you have to convince him that your concept is the best concept. So obviously a visually appealing presentation works. You have like a pitch, so everyone who wants to join can pitch their concepts. You have 2 minutes to pitch your concept, so that's pretty short, because it's a big problem, a complicated industry, and still you have only 2 minutes to convince Dave that your concept is the best. And obviously we want to know a little bit about the process. So how did you come and how did you create your concept? But luckily,
you're not on your own.
You're not on your own. No. So we have 4 different workshops. And the workshop is guided by our teacher, and it's Pirke. And I want to give him the word because he probably knows best. Yes, a little applause.
Thanks. I have a little note. My English isn't that. I'm nervous for 4 days now. Okay. When you want to participate in this challenge, and I think you all want to, we offer you 4 workshops, like Rudy just said. And we are going to look from a personal perspective to the challenge. Because I think when you make it smaller next to you, after that you can make it bigger to the rest of the world. The mass production in the fast fashion is like said here, is a very big problem, very big problem. In the next 4 workshops, we're going to experience different kinds of design research, but also various types of visualizations of the concept, because you all want to win the 750 euros, but more. I think it's more important to have the chance to win the eternal fame of in this project.
Eternal fame.
Eternal fame. Yeah, that's the problem, huh?
Sounds really good.
Yeah, true. And you have finally the opportunity to make a real difference in the fashion world, and that's what matters most. We offer you the 4 workshops. We offer you an excellent coach, me, and a time to dig a little deeper into the subject matter. So join, subscribe, have fun, I think.
Thank you. Thank you, Pirke.
The first workshop will be already at March 15th, so that's only 2.5 weeks further on. So our deadline for the registration is March the 12th. You can send a mail to Rudy. You know what his mail address is. And in the forthcoming days, just put your inbox, take a close look at your inbox, because everything will be in a mail to you, which we'll send coming the next week, I guess.
Yes, but I want to point something out, because there's a limited number of places, because Pirke can't handle 200 students, for example. So there will be some kind of selection, and probably the first selection is just on first in wins, you know? Yeah. And you do have an advantage, because the people who are not here, they don't know what the challenge is. They don't know who to email. They don't know when to email. So you have like the first chance. So if you're like really excited, just register today. Just send me an email today. And you don't need like a big motivation, but just a small thing like, I want this because. It can be one sentence. So maybe if there are a lot of students, we have some selection material, you know, because not everyone can join. So please use this opportunity to join this challenge, because a lot of people maybe at home who aren't here, they take a look at an email next week and they're like, oh, that's a pretty cool challenge. But you are here, so that's that's a winning starting point.
And once you have registered, you get all the information you need. So don't worry about that now. All the information will come to you.
Yeah. So if you want to reduce the amount of textile waste, and if you want to put yourself in the picture and have an experience with Dave, because he will be there as well, just join. I think it's a really cool challenge. And like Pirke said, the prize money obviously is interesting.
Challenging as well.
You could like it. But at the same time, you should feel some...
Tinkles?
You need to feel it. Yeah, you need to feel this challenge. And I think there are a lot of people who are.
Are there some questions about the challenge? Do you want to know something? Yeah?
I just want to know if, can be pairs. We can participate in a duo. If we can participate together,
you can solo as a duo in a group. And I would advise in a group maximum 4 people or something like that.
Yeah, so that's a good question. I don't know if everyone heard it, but you don't have to sign up individually. You could, or with 3 person, maximum 4.
Yeah. Any more questions? Yeah.
Are we pitching here at Fontys?
We have a special location where we're going to pitch. This is not too inspiring. So, yeah. That's the 6th of June at the end of the afternoon. So it's same time as this. Yeah. Another question? No?
Okay. Well, then there's just one thing to say. We would really like to see you at the challenge. So please sign up as soon as possible, because on Monday we will send an email to all the students. So you have until Monday, and then everyone is like, oh my God, I want to join. So thank you to Dave for your time again.
Thank you
for all your questions. Yes.